If you're a Lions fan and you're new here with us on Garage Sakes, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hop in the comment section down below. Brant, it seems like every week when we talk to Lions, it's like, yep, yeah, they're pretty good. Yep, they look even better than they did the previous week. And that was the story again this past weekend. We come into Sunday Night Football. They host the Chiefs. The Chiefs who just lost to the Jags, by the way, who do not look like the Chiefs of old. I mean, I think they're sitting at 2-3. And Lions are looking pretty good. But my question to you, because I feel like we're at this point where I don't know what else to talk about with this team. I can't be overly critical. I don't want to continue to get on here and talk about just how good they are. And so I think maybe it's getting ahead of ourselves, but I genuinely want to talk Super Bowl with you. I feel like watching this team and watching all the teams in the NFL, whether that's the Bills, the Eagles, the Lions, it's like, the Lions really arguably could be the best team in the NFL right now and should win a Super Bowl. Not like they should be in the running. They should win a Super Bowl. They should be playing in a Super Bowl at the very least. My question to you, Brant, is, well, we've got now 5 games of evidence, and it looks pretty good. Week 1 looks like a fluke. It looks like an anomaly compared to with these last 4 games where they've looked absolutely dominant. What's your assessment of what this team needs to do to improve? Brad Holmes has kind of, for as much as he's loved for what he's done in the draft and should get those accolades over the years, he has been criticized at times for not being more aggressive, A, in either free agency, B, at the trade deadline to improve this team. And so what I want to know from you, Brant, is what do you see this team needing to improve? Or do you feel like they should stand pat? Do they need to make a big swing? Is it a little swing? Do they just kind of sit on their hands and say, we're good enough, we're going to roll this team out, we're dominating the competition right now? How do they get out of the NFC, I guess, is my question, to make a Super Bowl? We've seen them make the NFC Championship. Obviously, last year was a disappointment in the playoffs. You can't do that again this year. How do they get over that hump? And do you feel like they're okay right now as is to continue to let this roll? Or are you looking for Brad Holmes to kind of push some chips in and get a little more aggressive here at the trade deadline?
Dave, I want to start by asking you a question. What do you think is a tougher matchup for the Lions if you found yourself in the playoffs, against a good rushing team or against a good passing team?
Against a good passing team.
Okay.
Yep, definitely. And no, I was just going to say, and that comes down to my concerns at secondary. I mean, and Terrion Arnold's banged up right now. Initially, it sounded worse than apparently what it was, the shoulder injury. But if you tell me he's out for the year, and he has been up and down, to say the least.
Might be a
DJ
good thing
Reed
he's out.
been banged up. Yeah, but who's there, Brant? I mean, yeah, to me that's an easy one to answer. So it's a team that can toss the football around.
Yeah, so that's why I almost feel like maybe the Eagles a better draw for the Lions, maybe in an NFC Championship as compared to potentially a Tampa Bay, right? You might not want to see a Tampa Bay. You certainly probably don't want to see a Los Angeles Rams team that would be clicking on all cylinders at that point. I think that this secondary needs some help and they need some depth. And I don't know if that's where you were heading, Dave, but that's immediately where my mind went when I thought about what this team's good at, what they do. I wouldn't consider this team a shutdown passing team's defense. I think they're able to get after the quarterback a little bit. I think they're able to stop the run, certainly. I think they're probably top 10 in run defense. But one area they certainly lack is passing yards. And you kind of saw that on Sunday. Jake Browning definitely has got to be leading the league in interceptions. I don't know if it's him or not, but it feels like it's certainly him. And he gives 3 giveaways to the Detroit Lions. But without those, they give up some yards to the air. And I mean, obviously Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that's a good outfit, but I mean, you're going to see that, right? You're going to see Jordan Addison and you're going to see Justin Jefferson, whether it be with JJ McCarthy or Carson Wentz or Max Brosmer, who knows who might be playing for Minnesota at that point, but there are some real good passing teams in the NFC right now. And that's something that they're going to have to be able to work through. But I think if you're going to attack the Lions, it's going to be through the air.
Yeah, and I think you want to, of course, you want it all, right? I think depth is going to be the overarching need, if you will. We talk to most fans, and that's because they're scarred from what happened last year, which is an injury plagued team that just was all gimped up going into the playoffs, and we saw what the result was. The reality is, you can't plan for every injury in the world, nor can trade and sign enough guys to have a ton of depth. And so you've got to look at key positions here. And yeah, you're going to need Taylor Decker to be healthy. Giovanni Manu, he stepped in. It didn't look great. But yeah, you need those guys to stay healthy. But like offensive line, for example, is not. Yeah, would I love to have more depth there? Absolutely, but that's not the top of my board. It is the secondary for me, and I still feel like a second stud as an edge rusher would be a massive, massive get here. I think you're banking on Aleem McNeil, to come back and get healthy, and DJ Reader and these guys up front to hopefully to continue to have a good run defense and be strong in the interior. On the edge, and Hutch looks. I mean, Brandon, I don't know about you, but like Hutch, it's interesting watching him. It's like I watch the other elite edge rushers around the league, and they seem to just have a lot more. I don't know if it's just like the moves look cleaner or whatever it is. They just look like a Miles Garrett looks just very different than Hutch. But I think Hutch is in that same category, not as good as Miles Garrett and Micah Parsons, but it's like he was like that way at Michigan too. It's just like the way he like bull rushes and does these like crazy spins, but somehow ends up at the quarterback. I can't even imagine. And I guess now the Trey Hendrickson thing is like fresh in my mind because we just watched him, against the Lions. But I mean, the Bengals probably are going to be selling to a certain extent. I mean, they're not going to get Joe Burrow back, and for a few more months anyway. At that point, this season is probably a wash. I know they just traded for Joe Flacco. I don't know what that does for you. Maybe it gets you closer to 500, but I would look around at some of these guys. If you can get somebody on a 1 year rental, if you got to overpay, whatever. And I don't know who the guys are. I don't have names for you in the secondary too.
I
Who
have
I would like.
I have
Go ahead.
one that I think is interesting, Dave, and he's only interesting because he's a cowboy. Trayvon Diggs. Any interest on bringing him to town? Is he someone that you would want in Detroit? It seems like he might be a good fit, maybe for the rest of this year, but maybe not for the future. But is that something that you would have to absolutely think about, or is that something you would immediately be like, yes, bring him in?
I don't have it in front of me, but I thought they signed him to a long-term contract already. And so
Gotcha.
if that's the case, which I think it is, I'd have to look. But if that's the case, no, I'm not interested in it for a couple of reasons because I don't want money tied up long term. You're still going to have to pay Brian Branch. You have to figure out some future pieces here. I'm looking for a 1 year rental, like a guy that you can, like an elite guy that you can toss a third or a fourth round pick at and bring him in literally for essentially give up your pick this year, bring him in on a 1 year rental and elevate this defense immediately. I think if you can find something like that for a team that's looking to sell and they know the writing's on the wall, a couple weeks from now, you got to go ahead and shoot your shot. What I think they cannot do, Brant, I just don't believe in the whole let's let this play out
I know
because
that annoys you more than
we've
anything.
seen it. We've seen it. And it's great. And I'm not saying it can't work. I'm not saying they can't win a Super Bowl if they do that. But at some point, and that's the frustration around all of Detroit sports, if we're being honest, is like at some point, push your chips in just a little bit. Just do just something just a little bit extra to give this team some juice to put them over the top. They kind of tried to do that with the Zadarius Smith thing last year. I don't think he was the guy, and maybe he was, but Hutch wasn't there, and he definitely wasn't going to be a 1-to-1 replacement with Hutch. But they got to do something. Is my point, and I don't know what it is, but I'm willing at this point. If I'm the Lions and Brad Holmes, I'm willing to give up a draft pick or two to go ahead and get a guy that's going to contribute this year to go and get this monkey off your back and go win a Super Bowl for the city. I feel like the Lions are it. I felt like they were it last year. The injuries definitely crept up. We saw how it ended. We saw how close they were the year before. This year, it's like, okay, all the pieces are here. The guy, these guys that they drafted, they built it internally. They built it the way Brad Holmes wanted to build it. But again, what's that move that's just going to kind of solidify this thing that it's like Brant every year? The teams like the 49ers, you're
Yeah,
going to
they
raid
do.
around the deadline, or the
Philadelphia.
Eagles. You got it. It's like they make these trades like, whoa, dude, they only give up a fifth round pick to get so and so. And it's like, how do they do this every
The
year?
Chiefs feel like they do that
You
too.
got it. It's like all these great teams and franchises do that. So the Lions need to be in that conversation. So I don't know who the guys are. We'll have to maybe circle back to that in a few weeks as that trade deadline gets closer. But I am not in the camp of let's enjoy 4-1 and continue to stomp the league out for the next little bit. And I think we're good enough to go win. I think we are good enough to go win a Super Bowl. I'm not a fan of it. I've seen what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming into Sunday night this weekend, you can basically throw a death blow at the Chiefs and really turn their season upside down. So this weekend is massive, and even if you lose this weekend, maybe you do start kind of taking some of that into consideration, right? Like, hey, we really do need to fix some of these secondary issues. If Mahomes has a day, which he's looked pretty mediocre throughout the season.
Absolutely. Look, I think the Lions are going to get it done this weekend. I do, and I think if you give the death punch to the Chiefs and send them to be 2-4, that is even it's even more reason for me to say, go ahead and make that extra move. Let's really do this thing right. I love a good regular season. We know what that felt like last year. Regular seasons don't win Super Bowl. So go ahead and make a move without mortgaging the entire future, by all means. I'm not saying go in and make a brash, stupid move and trade a key piece moving forward. But if I got to give up a second or a third round pick for an absolute stud for a year to go win a Super Bowl, I am all for it. So, Lions fans, let us know down below here on Garage Takes. What do you guys think? Do the Lions need to make a move? Do you still need to wait and see a few more weeks and to get some more evidence of where this team stacks up? Let us know your thoughts. And like I said at the beginning, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. We love your support each and every week here on Garage Takes.